bitch, I'm back out my coma.
The first round, man. Ooh, the first round's been good. We've had some great finishes, some legendary all-time individual performances. We've had a 1 seed lose to an 8 seed, which, as a Mavericks fan, just, whew, thanks, guys. That is a weight off of my shoulders. And I would say congratulations, Adam Silver, on the great start to the postseason. If you weren't such a bald-headed, if you guys have been wondering why I haven't been streaming, I got hit with the copyright strike, and I forgot copyright strikes come with live stream bans. So I've been unable to stream on this channel. So that's where I've been. I believe the ban expires this weekend, so Sunday or Monday we'll be back to live streaming on this channel. Just subscribe. Enough about me. Before we get into some of the stuff happening, some of the talking points, some of the Bucks Heat, the Lakers Grizzlies, the Cavs Knicks, let's just take a time to commemorate our fallen soldiers, the teams that we have lost in the last week or so. The Brooklyn Nets, gone and most certainly forgotten. I actually almost forgot the series even happened. I almost forgot to write it down on this list. Rest in peace, soldiers. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Hey, at least Anthony Edwards looks like a star, right? Some very interesting questions you have to ask about Karl Anthony Towns in the offseason, but rest in peace. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh, what a shit show. We're going to talk about them here in a bit. And, oh my God, I can't even believe, this still hasn't even processed in my brain. The Milwaukee Bucks, the 1 seed, the best team in the NBA, the 1 seed in the whole playoffs, the betting favorites to win it all, gone, out, eliminated in 5 games against Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat, and not just Jimmy Butler, who was obviously insane, unbelievably good. We're going to talk about him more in a bit, but Spoelstra, like a consensus top 3 coach. Wasn't he voted the top 15 coach ever? Never won coach of the year. Hilarious stuff there. Bam Adebayo dropped a triple-double in game 5. Bam Island, stand up. Max Strus had some huge plays. Gabe Vincent had some plays. Caleb Martin. I've been a big Caleb Martin guy all season long. I've always been. Cody Zeller, Milwaukee Bucks. Your season got fucked by Cody Zeller with that dunk that pretty much iced the game. Adios, muchachos. And I hate that I'm about to do this. I really do, because this is so ESPN to me. And I hate ESPN. I despise them. I'm anti-big corp. All right, as Karl Marx once famously said, fuck ESPN. But this talking point is about to be so ESPN. I want to talk about the Giannis press conference and what Giannis said after the game, and specifically in response to a question that everybody is shitting on that I think is a very normal question. Was this season a failure? And I can't believe I'm even doing this. Once I saw this answer last night, I saw people on Twitter who were like, oh my God, great. This is going to be like the talking point now. Nobody's going to talk about the games. Nobody's going to talk about the Heat. Everyone's going to talk about this response. And I was like, no, that's impossible. But I woke up this morning and that was true. If you missed the press conference, essentially, Milwaukee Bucks beat reporter, I think for The Athletic, asked, was this season a failure? I think that's a very fair and normal question, especially after the 1 seed just lost to the 8 seed. I feel like that's a very fair question. And Giannis basically got pissed off and said, no, man, there's no failure in sports. Not every team wins. Would Michael Jordan call every time he didn't win a failure? Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here. I'll just insert some of the clips.
Hey, do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me. Some days it's your turn, some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's going to win. And this year, somebody else is going to win. Simple as that. We're going to come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball, and hopefully we can win a championship.
I'm not going to shit on Giannis or his answer, okay? The answer is whatever. In that moment, I'm sure there's so many emotions going through his head that, I'm not going to shit on the answer. It's a fine answer. It's a good mindset to have on things. Just because you don't reach the end goal of your journey does not mean the journey in and of itself was a failure, because you're going to learn some things along the way. You're going to make some friends, and it's all about the friends we make along the way. But the response to this, you have Mark Cuban, who's shitting all over the reporter. This is such a loaded question, and I'm happy on a shit all over that reporter. And we're not that far away from ChatGPT becoming sports reporters. This is my owner, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I hope we're not that far away from AI doing? Taking over for dog shit personnel decision makers in sports teams. That I pray we're only months away from that. But some of the responses, like you have like NFL guys who don't even care about the NBA who are like, wow, what a response from Giannis. This is so inspirational. Like I don't want to attack Giannis. You know, I get what he's saying. It's very Disney, end of the movie, Disney Channel stuff. But like, I think this answer is terrible. This was a failure. This was categorically a gigantic failure. It just was, okay? And that's fine if Giannis doesn't feel that way. If I'm a Bucks fan deep down, I'm hoping he actually does feel that way, right? If the organization feels the same way Giannis does, where it's like, oh, this isn't a failure, you know, not every team can win, we're fucked. As a Milwaukee Bucks fan, my feeling is we are fucked if the organization thinks like that, because this was categorically a failure. Undeniably. You're only the 6th 1 seed ever to lose to an 8 seed. The betting favorites heading into the playoffs to win the whole entire thing. If you put a gun to the head of basketball fans, basketball analysts, podcasters, bloggers, whatever, and you told them who's winning the NBA Finals, I would say 80 to 90% of them would have said the Bucks, and we'd have a mass casualty event on our hands. Because, like, you were a 13-point favorite going into Game 5. This is a category, like, this is unquestionably a failure. And everyone who's like, Giannis is right, man. This isn't a failure. No, he's not right. This is a failure. And I get what he's saying. Like, only one team wins. So does that mean 29 other teams fail? Well, you got to look at the context. Did the Oklahoma City Thunder fail this season? Absolutely not. Their season was a huge, massive success for them, right? Where they're at with their franchise, what their goals were entering the season, huge success. For the Bucks, yes, man. Losing in round 1 to the 8 seed is a huge failure. In 5 games, too. It wasn't like it was Game 7 and Jimmy Butler scored 58 points and he couldn't miss and, oh my God, we're out. Like, what the hell just happened? You lost in 5 games. 5 games. This wasn't like you lost in the conference finals to the Celtics, which would have sucked, but, you know, hey, the Celtics are really good. It's not necessarily a huge failure. You lost in the first round. That is a massive failure. I can't believe how many people are eating up this response. And they're like, you know what? Giannis is right. No, he's not. He's not. Can you imagine if Embiid said this? He would be dragged. Can you imagine if Harden said this? He would be dragged. Can you imagine if Devin Booker or Chris Paul, after that embarrassing Game 7 performance last year against the Mavericks, said, no, this season's not a failure. Like, no, that wasn't a failure. There's no failure in sports. They would have gotten slaughtered. But because it's Giannis, who really can't do any wrong, and because he's a great guy, he's a good guy, and it comes off very genuine, and I get that. But my Lord, I cannot believe some of the responses I'm seeing to this. Like, yeah, he's right. It's not a failure. There's no failure in sports. That is insane. That is asinine. And when he talks about the promotion thing, like, oh, is it a failure if you don't get a promotion every year? Well, let's see. If my goal was, I want to get a promotion, like that's my goal the whole year, and I'm doing a great job. I'm lined up for that promotion. It all signs point towards me getting that promotion. And in the last month of the year, I literally shit my pants in the office. And everybody just smells it, and I just walk around in it all year, all the whole month, right? And I do terrible work. I don't do my work. I don't want to do it. And then at the end, not only do I not get the promotion, I get fired. Guess what? Yeah, that's a failure. 100%. Again, I don't really care that Giannis even said this. If it didn't get the reaction it got, I wouldn't even talk about it, right? Because I don't really care what players say in post-game press conferences because it's heat of the moment, right? Especially after losses, what do you expect these guys to say? But the responses to it, I can't believe. I'm like flabbergasted by it. On top of that, man, I get Giannis was hurt. I understand that, right? He only played in 2 full games, right? He missed 2 games, got hurt in one of the other ones, only really played in 2 full games. But man, like he was bad in the fourth quarter. And I know he was probably hurt. I'll give him a little bit of a pass on an individual level. But even before this series started, if you would have told me, hey, Giannis kind of deals with a back injury and he misses a couple games and he comes back and he's not fully 100%, I still would have picked the Bucks to win. That doesn't change much for me, especially if you told me and Tyler Hero breaks his hand in game 1 and misses the whole series. I'd be like, oh yeah, the Bucks still definitely win. They're still much better than the Heat are on paper and should be able to take care of business even without Giannis for a couple of games. And they lost in 5. And it's not a failure. Giannis missed 13 free throws in a game they lost by 2 in overtime. 13 missed free throws. That is insane. 3 of 12 from the field in fourth quarter and overtime. 3 of 9 from the free throw line. 3 turnovers, a minus 18. They got gamed. They got destroyed. Jimmy Butler went to Milwaukee against the consensus best player in the world and dominated him. Like, just completely eviscerated their whole team over the course of the whole series. And not only that, he's talking shit. He's letting you know. He's talking shit to Drew Holiday, who I think is the best perimeter defender in the NBA and has been for like the last decade. He's talking shit to him when they're losing by 6. That is how much of a dog Jimmy Butler is. They are losing the game, and Jimmy Butler is telling Drew Holiday, I own you. Jimmy averaged 37 points per game on 60% shooting, 44% from 3. It's actually hilarious because there was a play in the game where, late in the game, where Jimmy was shooting the 3 in regulation that would have given the Heat a lead, right, which he missed. And the commentators were talking about how, oh, you can't give Jimmy that much space to shoot a 3. It's just so funny to me how much of a playoff riser he is because, like, regular season, I'm cool with Jimmy Butler shooting 3s. Like, it's just his 3-point production in the regular season is horrible. He gets to the playoffs and it's like, all right, it's time to start making 3s. And it just happens. We have never really seen something. Well, I can't say that, but he's unbelievable what he does in the playoffs. And I hope he wins a ring. I don't know if he's going to do it this year. The path is not that crazy. I don't know if he's going to do it this year, but at some point I hope he gets one, whether it's as the best player or just a role player as he gets later in his career, because I think it'll tell a better story of the past decade. When you look back on it, 10, 20, 30 years from now, Jimmy Butler had a ring, and he was this crazy playoff riser every year. Like, regular season would be good, would be an all-star, would be like a all-NBA third-team guy, but in the playoffs just rose to like a top 3 player in the world stratosphere. Like, it's crazy what he does. And Spoelstra, too. Like, this guy, I don't know, with all of the coaching we've seen and just taking a peek into other teams' fan bases and how they act and how they, talk about their coach. Everyone hates their coach. It's like, is Spoelstra just like the best coach in the league? It was just you never feel like you're going to get out coached when Eric Spoelstra in a Miami Heat series. You always feel like they have the coaching advantage. And he coached circles around Budenholzer. Budenholzer, adios, man. That was a disaster class. Like, so many things went wrong in the final, 5 minutes of that game, including overtime. Like, oh, holy shit, man. That was a disaster. I don't see a world in which Budenholzer survives that. Maybe if they lost in round 1, in my opinion, like, that's an automatic firing, especially for a coach who's just sort of always been a fringe guy. Like, we don't really like Budenholzer, but he won us a championship, so we got to keep him around, right? But losing in that fashion, see ya. There's no coming back from that at all. And the roster is old too. This is just why I can't get behind like that. There's no failure. It's just like, yeah, there is. I'm sorry. If you're the 1 seed and you lose to an 8 seed, there's failure. It's just, you failed. Like, organizationally, maybe not you individually, maybe not the goals you set for yourselves, amongst the team, but from an organizational standpoint, you failed. You just did. All right, that's just the reality of the situation. I can't believe how many people are eating that up. Like, when Dirk lost and the Mavericks lost in 2007 to the Warriors, Dirk went into hiatus. Like, he was destroyed. He was down bad. I felt so bad for him. And it's just like, God, I can't. He would have said that was a failure. He pretty much has. Like, he said he wanted to go into hiding afterwards. I don't know. Let's briefly talk about the Cavs too, who, wow, they were It's one thing, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. What was really their expectation heading into the postseason? If you would have told them, hey, you lose in like a tough series against the Knicks, I don't think that would have been that big of a disaster because the Knicks are a great team. I picked the Knicks to win that series in 7. Did not think there was a world in which they would win it in 5, but the way in which it happened, you got shit on. Like, you got thoroughly outmatched throughout the course of this series. So much so that it's like a coming to Jesus type moment. JB Bickerstaff, I can't imagine he's the head coach of this team next season. You got, like, Jared Allen. Mitchell Robinson had more rebounds in Game 5 alone than Jared Allen had in the final 3 games of the series combined. He had 5 more. 18 rebounds in Game 5 for Mitchell Robinson. 13 combined over the last 3 games for Jared Allen. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. And considering the complexion of your team, right, what you need moving forward, you got to ask yourself, like, do we trade Jared Allen in the offseason? I don't think Mobley can be the 5, but we feel we can get, like, somebody else who's cheaper in here, and we can get something in return for Jared Allen so we could fix our other gaping holes on our roster. And I know, like, JB Bickerstaff, yeah, he was terrible, and he's gone. But if I'm the head coach, and I know I'm going to get blamed, like, if we lose this series, it's going to be me who gets blamed. I'm probably going to get fired. When your guys don't really show up to play, I always wonder if the coaches are like, hey, guys, thanks. Thanks, guys. I'm now unemployed because you guys just decided you weren't going to show up. Congrats, guys. See ya. Good luck. Like, I always wonder that because their offense was terrible. Darius Garland, where the hell were you? Donovan Mitchell, that was not good enough. I don't know. That was just such a, again, if like the Cavs losing a tough series in round 1 to the Knicks wouldn't have really moved me that much. Like I wouldn't have been that freaked out for them because I still think they're young. You know, Mobley needs some more time to develop and stuff like that. So it isn't that big of a deal to me. But just getting their ass beat, Jesus. Was that a failure for them? I would say so. I would definitely say so.